Yeah.
Okay, and we should be live now. So, hello guys, good evening.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Yes, welcome to our evening business activity. As always, guys, I think people are going to be coming in a second now. Yeah, just let us know your name. Let us know where you come from. Just the usual. You guys are veterans now, so you know how this works. Just some brief intros as always, just in case there is anyone who still doesn't know who we are. We're both teachers from Milan. We work in the Central School in Via Meravigli. I'm Thiago. I'm 29. I'm from Brazil originally, but I grew up in California, and I've been with Mayes since 2016.
And I'm Sean. I'm 21. I'm from Ireland, and I've been with my yes since September.
Exactly. And we got Clara that I definitely remember from some of the 10 to 13 focuses. So welcome, Clara. And Deborah, which I don't know if I've ever had you in a lesson before. So welcome. And she's from Rome. Clara, let me see if I remember now. You are from Sicily, but you live in Parma. Let me
Oh,
know if I'm right.
that's quite specific. That must be correct.
No, because I last time I think I had her, I couldn't remember where she was from, and then I made a mental note to remember.
Okay.
So let me know if I was right. And then, oh yeah, Marco is definitely one of our business veterans as well. Remember Marco? Welcome back. And Deborah, yeah, first time. Is it your first time with both of us? Have you had Deborah before, Sean?
I don't remember, but you never know with just names and webinars. It's hard to remember sometimes.
Yeah, I actually find it surprising because I am not usually good with names, like period. But I can actually remember students' names pretty good. I don't know if it's because maybe I always have the last name in front of me, and so I can kind of make some kind of association, or I don't know. Also because I feel like Italians tend to have very kind of similar, or the same name kind of keeps popping up.
Yeah.
So remembering can be pretty tricky, but guessing it can be easier.
Yeah.
So very nice, guys. So yeah, we hope you guys are doing okay in this new week. I actually can't believe it's Thursday already. I could have sworn this morning that it was Wednesday.
Oh, it feels like Friday to me, so there you go.
Oh, does
It's
it
different
really?
for everyone.
No, I thought it went by
Yeah.
super quick. I mean, yesterday I had a really nice day. I went to the supermarket, and now I don't know if you saw this, Sean, but they have some apps that you can use now to book your place in line, so you don't have to really
Oh,
wait that long. Yeah.
I don't know if I approve of that. Are they monetizing off our misery?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, yeah, it didn't really ask for much information. They just, yeah, it's like a virtual queue sort of thing. And so they'll tell you about 10 minutes before it's your turn. And you just show up so you don't have to wait in line. And then I even like sat outside for about 10 minutes with my grocery bags, just like, if anyone asked, I was just waiting for someone to pick me up because I just needed some of that sunlight. It was so good.
Yeah, I find it awful wearing the mask when we're outside because
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
only chance to get some fresh air, and now we have to wear the masks. I understand why, but
Yeah.
still.
Plus, I don't like the smell of some of them. They have a bit of that, I don't know, artificial material smell. I mean, I have like both kinds. There's that harder one. That one I really don't like. I prefer just the soft.
Okay.
Like that one's a bit better. But then with allergies, then it's really no fun because your nose is so itchy, and then it makes it
Go.
even more itchy. I feel like with the mask.
Clara remembers a class about astrological signs I did with Jay Dean. We were a bit
Hmm.
silly in that class. I hope you don't hold it against me, Clara. But anyway.
Yeah, and then she has the perception that April days are flying. Yeah, it really feels like it. It's crazy. I mean, it's the 23rd of April already.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and we'll see what May holds. We have the like May 4th is the date in which we should be opening back up overall. So we're still
Mm.
not sure of like the details of that, right? I think it's going to be communicated before the weekend, I think is what the government said. But I know today
Yeah.
the European Council is also having a meeting, which is probably finished by now as well. So I'm curious to see what's going to come out of this.
Yeah, it's hard to know still. I mean, after all these months, but still. Anyway, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, we're starting to see it. So, all right, guys, we're gonna get started here. We are talking about presentation skills today, and so I'm gonna ask Sean if you could please just read the objectives there.
Sure. So in this business activity, we are looking at presentation structures. We're looking at something called signposting, reviewing that. It's a way of kind of structuring your speeches, your presentations again, and opening up an event. So how you present in that kind of context.
Yep, exactly. So, in terms of presentation structures, I mean, we have many different kinds. Here we've underlined five of the most common sorts of presentation structures. And of course, some presentation structures will be better for different contexts. So we really have to consider what kind of presentation you're giving, if it's a sales pitch or whatever it is. So maybe if Sean, if you want to read the different kinds, I can read the definitions. And then while we're doing that, guys, if you could maybe just match them up, that would be great.
So A, problem solution, B, demonstration structure, C, residues method, D, chronological structure, and E, classic story structure.
Exactly. And the options are one, describe a problem quickly, then explain it more and use different arguments. Finally, describe the solution. Two, you tell a story in the order that it happened. Three, you describe a product and why it's so important. Then show the product and how it does something. Four, introduce a setting and a hero, then describe a problem or an antagonist, and finally give the resolution to the conflict. Five, genuinely describe other solutions proposed to a problem. Give reasons against each solution, and then give your solution at the end. So here we have some different ones, and if you guys can match them for us, that would be great. How do you feel about presenting in general, Sean? Is this something you dread doing, or do you not mind it? I find it hard people to really love it, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, yeah, I don't love it. It's not the most difficult thing for me. I mean, certainly in our job, we are sort of in a presentation mode every day. We're
Mm-hmm.
speaking in front of other people. It's I find it difficult to feel like I'm doing well, but I don't really have a fear of it or problems with my confidence. It's just that it's difficult to structure and speak really effectively, I think. That's what I find difficult. Do
Mm-hmm.
you like public speaking?
Oh, I do not. No, I mean, but then again, I like teaching. That I don't mind. I think it depends on how much I feel in control of the situation. I do have to be prepared before I present. I've, I've been in situations in the past in which I was maybe asked to speak in front of a large audience when I was not expecting to do so. And then I will just stutter. I will just like lose my train of thought. And then I just sound ridiculous. And then I just kind of like dig myself deeper into a hole because I try to like, I don't know, just to kind of give a good impression, but then just doesn't work. So I don't love it,
Yeah.
no. But I have gotten better over the years. I remember being in high school, being terrified of it. Now
Mm.
it's fine. It's not too bad.
Great. I'm sort of the opposite. Whenever I have something written down, prepared, I completely forget it when I'm in front of everyone and I just start improvising and making jokes that aren't very pertinent, but
But then it gets you out. Yeah,
it's better than being scared or nervous, I guess.
sure. Okay, so let's see here. So A, the problem solution. So you guys are saying maybe one. So describe a problem quickly, then explain it more using different arguments, and finally describe the solution. Let's see what the slides tell us. Yeah, you're absolutely right. B, Marco is saying it's 3. Let's see, anyone else? Okay, so B, demonstration structure. So you're saying that you describe a product and why it's so important, and then you show the product. I believe you're absolutely right. Fantastic. For residues, both Marco and Clara, and also Christina, you guys think it is... Wait, I got lost here. These comments. Okay, 5. So let's look at 5. You genuinely describe other solutions proposed to a problem, give reasons. Yeah, exactly. So residue is like the thing that is left, right? So if you exhausted your options, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, we are left with this. So that's the residue. Chronological structure, 2. You tell a story in the order, yeah? So it goes in chronological order. In the classic story, yeah, this idea of like a hero and the bad guy, the antagonist, etc. Yeah, that is what we call the classic story structure. So nice, perfect, guys. Oh, I didn't know that, Marco.
Interesting. Yeah. She has a very effective formula, Agatha Christie. Very readable novels.
Yeah, I haven't read too much by her, actually. It's definitely something I should do. Actually, during this quarantine, one thing I haven't done too much of is reading. I used
Yeah,
to
I
like
mean,
it
I
so
don't
much
have
before.
books.
You don't?
Yeah. I mean, now the bookshops are opening again, so maybe I'll get some, but I don't have books around just in general. I don't have time to read. It would be nice in this
Yeah.
moment, I think.
Yeah, one thing I tried getting into several times is audiobooks. And I do really like it, but then I tend to kind of just lose concentration halfway through a chapter. But maybe it's because I try to do it even, when the line was the worst problem, I would listen to not to podcast, but to the audiobooks while going to the supermarket. But then I would get distracted by like other people and the mask
Yeah.
situation and the line, and then I would like miss what had happened. And yeah, but if I
Yeah,
do
no,
it, I try
audiobooks.
doing it in the evening, but then I fall asleep. So it's like,
Yeah, no, any time of day they send me to sleep. Something about the voice just in your
yeah.
ear.
And then
It
it's
knocks
really a
me out.
problem because you don't remember where you were. Because
Exactly,
it
and you
keeps
start having,
going and you're like, wait, what's the last thing I remember? Then you have to find it.
yeah,
So yeah, the guilty person is the last one the detective addresses to, and when he gives the solution at the end. All right.
mm,
So perfect, guys. So we have some different quotes here. I think it's just the 3. Yeah. Okay, let me go back here then. 1, 2, 3. Sean, can you read the quotes?
yeah. So they're prompts for speeches. So addicted to Facebook, a generation behind a computer screen. Cutting down on pollution with solar panels, and how I beat the office bully.
Exactly. So, what do you think here, guys, could be the best presentation structure for each of these presentations? So, considering that this is kind of the title or the premise of the presentation, which one would be the best? Yeah, there's a funny TED talk as well that it's called "How to." It's like how to ace your TED talk or something. So it's basically like his whole TED talk is about being effective at giving a TED talk. Yes,
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's really it's all about like posture and like the way you should like raise your voice at some points and like use of numbers and pictures, and it just like
Yeah.
seems like so engaging, but he's really not saying anything at all throughout the 10-minute talk.
Yeah, TED Talks have really become kind of the standard of presenting and presentation. Definitely something to look into if you have to do it, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, so for the first one, we have a couple ideas here. So Clara thinks maybe a problem solution could work well, whereas Marco thinks a demonstration structure. So why do you think so, guys? So why should we use these? And yeah, feel free, instead of maybe doing all three, perhaps, yeah, choose one in particular, and then maybe explain why you think it's best. So Marcus says you could use a demonstration structure and say why Facebook and social networks in general are so popular. And how can you maybe demonstrate that in that case? I think it could be a good approach. Cutting down on pollution, so maybe the residues, yeah? That could potentially be a good one because you can look at all the other solutions and then explain why they might not be the best, so reasons against them, so you can finally introduce yours. So for the pollution problem, Deborah is saying C, the residues method. Okay, so that's what Clara said as well, exactly. The effects they have on the young generation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think for the last one, I think classic story works quite well, especially since we have a very clear antagonist, a very clear problem there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're not gonna ask you guys to write anything yet, just because we have some other vocab and things to go through here. So we're just gonna move on. But if you have anything that you're writing, just let us know here. Let me just go back because I see you guys are giving some other ideas. So 3 classic grades. So that's what we mentioned, right, Clara? So you have an antagonist that is pretty clear, so that could work well. And Marco is saying a classic story structure or also D. Yeah, chronological. Yeah, because you can explain how the problem developed. Maybe since you started in the office, how did that relationship deteriorate, from the beginning until where you are now. So, all right. So here we have this situation. So EDU CEO Jane Pitcher is the opening speaker at a convention on the future of online education. See her thoughts and ideas in a radio interview before the event. Okay, so this is a radio interview, maybe some podcast that she was a part of. And here we have her thoughts, so something that she already said. So, Sean, if you want to read the part by Jane Pitcher, I can be the interviewer, so ask you the questions. So, Jane, how has the industry changed in the last few years?
First and foremost, the need for a degree is increasing at a rapid pace. This industry was at first ignored by many, but today online education has become a staple in the education sector. Many education alternatives have tanked in the past, abandoning the market immediately. But online education has really gained traction and is more popular than ever.
Great. And what would you like to tell your audience as you open the conversation?
The industry has built a solid foundation with many strong companies. But why stop there? In other words, it's time to take over the industry and really make a difference. I want to motivate my colleagues.
Exactly. So we have a lot of vocabulary here, especially. If we look at the words in red in the text, let's match them to their meaning or synonyms that we have here on the side. So, for instance, number one, the expression that means a quick movement, to completely fail, to create a good base, to have a strong presence, to gradually build force, and to be the best. So let us know what they are.
It's an interestingly relevant topic, online education.
Yeah, exactly. I've also had to kind of improvise on my own too. For I work with a high school doing exam prep, and that has been a bit of a challenge as well.
Are they doing their exams in high
So
school?
that's the thing. I mean, they're because we were doing the preparation, they were supposed to do the exam in June, and that's the official Cambridge certification, and that obviously got postponed. But then it was quite tricky, really, because some of them were supposed to graduate, and they really needed it before. So we're not too sure. So I've been recording the lessons and using like Google Classroom and like other resources to try to still kind of help them, because with exams, like, you really have to be precise and like have to give like individual feedback as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay, so Marco, let's have you have a question here. By many doesn't need a noun. You can say many think that. Yes, you can. It means, yeah, many people, of course. Where is that in the text? Ah, yeah, the industry was at first ignored by many. Yeah, you can do that. You don't necessarily need to say people. Cool. So a quick movement, rapid pace, Clara. Great. Number two, completely fail. Exactly. To tank. Very good. To create a good base. Exactly, Clara. Yeah, the second option here is better. To build a foundation or build a solid foundation. Number four, to take over. Takeover is usually more if you compare it to the others in the field. So you take over as in you are at the top there. I think Marco is right in number four here, to become a staple. Staple is something that we tend to hear a lot when we talk about food. Like different countries, different places, they have certain types of food that are part of it's a staple of their diet. If we think of Italy, for instance, pasta, right? It is a staple food. It's very common. It has a strong presence in Italian cooking. It's something that a lot of people eat daily. So we can say staple. It's a staple food. Sean, what is a staple, would you say, of Irish cooking?
Potatoes. We're very stereotyped for our love of potatoes, but it's our staple.
Yeah, exactly. So see, so we tend to use this a lot when we talk about cooking, but here it's being used in a slightly different, well, a completely different context. So yeah, Today, online education has become a staple in the education sector, so it has a strong presence. To take over, it means to, exactly, yeah, to take over as in to kind of, so you have others and you take over as in you become the top. To conquer, sure, in a certain sense, yeah. Are the bells really loud, by the way?
Yes, it's nice. It's very
Oh, is it? Okay,
atmospheric.
cool. As we're
Why
waiting
are
for
they
the
ringing
answers.
at 7:30?
I just don't understand these bells because it's also like sometimes they just keep going and going and going. And I've heard that it can also be by the hour, but then I've tried counting it and they've definitely gone over like whatever hour it was. So I just don't understand why it's still going.
True.
Uh, yeah, gradually build force to gain traction, exactly. And then of course, so to be the best, right, is to take over, to conquer, as Marco said there. Yeah, take over. Okay. And if there is anything else, guys, in the text here that is not clear, please ask us. I'm trying to see if there's anything in particular. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Is there anything you see, Sean?
No, I think the red ones were the
With the
unusual
main ones,
ones.
right? Cool. Oh. Sorry. Okay. So just a couple questions then about her speech here. Here, Sean, do you want to just read these two questions?
Hmm. So, what do you think Jane wants to express in her speech? What presentation structure would you use for the speech if you were Jane?
Yeah,
Problem solution, demonstration structure, residues method, chronological structure, or classic story structure?
yeah, exactly, guys. So remember, this was just a radio interview, so it kind of gives you an idea just of her thoughts, right? But here she was like answering questions. How do you think she should approach a more of a presentation sort of structure? So whether it's a sales pitch or she's going, she's giving a TED talk or something like that. Uh, so what presentation structure do you think she should use for her speech? And what do you think she wants to express? So based on the information that you see there on the side, what is the juice of her speech? What do you think it should be? So just let us know in the comments. Yeah, it's interesting to see, in terms of online education, that now that it has been gaining traction and also becoming more and more popular, I think like a lot of people will want to continue with this. I see, even just like talking to
Yeah,
students, a lot of them are mentioning they're really enjoying this approach.
yeah. I mean, I was skeptical. I didn't take it very seriously at first, but now that I'm more familiar with it, I'm more in the swing of things. It works, in a
Hmm.
different way.
Yeah, it really does. And yesterday I had a lesson with a couple students, and they were telling me that the fact that even just not having to go to work. So this, of course, is combined with the current situation and the fact that they also don't have to be going to the office. Just the 2 hours that a lot of them save not having to travel and commute allows them to really focus on themselves. And if whether they're doing an English course, they can focus a lot more on that. They can dedicate more time to it. And so they're seeing more of a progress than when they were trying to do so many things at once and then squeeze an English lesson, maybe in the middle of the day. So, and yeah, that's something that I don't know if I told you in one of the webinars, but I was really surprised by the performance of the students in the revisions. They're doing like a really, really good job.
Oh, yeah, they haven't lost any of their, yeah, because they've been keeping up, I suppose.
Yeah. I was a little bit concerned, especially with the lower levels. I had to do a couple revisions of like level 4, level 5. Really nice job. Questions, especially, which they tend to struggle quite a bit with. Yesterday, I had a
Yeah,
checkpoint, which, requires so much conversation. That's another part that I thought maybe could be a bit of an issue. It was a level 7 checkpoint. So,
yeah,
moving on to 8 to 10, I was like, oh gosh, was fine. Really, really good job as well, all three
yeah,
students.
yeah. I'm glad to hear. I do worry about our students sometimes with, how hard it is to get progress, the thought of losing that. But I'm glad to hear they're doing
Yeah,
well.
exactly. In fact, if given the choice now, they're going to be reopening gradually. I'm happy to do some of the days, keep doing the online lessons, as I know some people will, especially in the beginning, maybe kind of continue in this way. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's have a look here. So some of you guys, okay, so we have a problem solution or demonstration structure. Yeah, so actually, Clara, the what we see on the side here is not quite a presentation yet, although some of the expressions we see can certainly be used for a presentation. This is more of like just answering the question, like in an interview on the radio. So when she gives the speech, what do you think she should use? And so Marco, for example, you think maybe problem solution, that could be one. Uh, Deborah says, I would use a chronological structure or classic story structure because she is explaining how it has changed. Okay, sure, especially the chronological part, right? You can really talk about how it has developed, how maybe different technologies, even the internet itself, like how it has become faster, more reliable, people have more access to it. You can talk about how, chronologically speaking, there has certainly been an upward sort of progression. So that's good as well. Clara here, she says she wants to express how the industry has changed and she's explaining the development process. Exactly. And yeah, I squeeze between a lesson and my job. It's an interesting method, but I always vote to go to school. A day of my ass is a better. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I definitely miss the just seeing people for sure, because it is such a positive environment, sitting in the
Yeah, we have a nice
lounges.
school. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine like it wouldn't be the same if it were like just the traditional classroom, just with like desks and like a blackboard behind
No.
me.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So if you're typing still, if you have like a different idea than the ones that have been expressed, okay, let us know. So we're gonna look at some other language. Okay, so here we see a couple of them. See, to introduce the idea first and foremost. It's a really nice one. In other words, if you're going to rephrase what you said, we're going to be looking at some other expressions that we can use in a presentation sort of setting. So we mentioned signposting before. So see, signposting is used to organize a presenter's thoughts more clearly. So read the following phrases and decide if they would be used in the introduction, supporting info, or conclusion of a speech. So for instance, if we look at this one here. So to summarize, we need to keep this rapid pace moving. So that expression there, to summarize, is that an introduction, supporting info, or a conclusion remark? Like what will come after that? So what do you guys think? Which of the three?
You said, Thiago, that when you do a presentation, you need to prepare. Do you
Mm-hmm.
read directly from a sheet of paper, or do you have bullet points? What do you like?
No, I do like to improvise. See, if I try to memorize like whole phrases, no, then I will make mistakes, and then I'll definitely lose the whole like train of thought that I'm trying to do. I just need like this to have an idea of where I'm gonna go and how I'm gonna get there. But as
Mhm.
long as I have, it's usually it helps me to have a piece of paper with just like bullet points quickly. So then I just kind of go from one to the next. But no, I've tried memorizing kind of entire like sentences and things, and it just doesn't work that way. No.
Yeah.
So that, in that regard, I prefer to improvise.
Mm.
Okay, so you guys say conclusions. Yes, just summarize. It's a conclusion. What about this one? Sean, do you want to read the example?
On the other hand, the industry has had problems with credibility.
Exactly. I see a lot of students try to say on the other side. Is this something you would use, Sean, on the other side?
Um, no,
You
not.
would,
I
right?
mean, you would understand what they meant. I think maybe you should say on the other side of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of this is just about what our conventions are, what we say and what we don't. So it's better to say something like "on the other hand" that everyone
Yeah,
will
because I
recognize.
see this a lot even when people are doing like writing essays and things, and I always correct it, but I was just curious to see if it was just I was used to it. So yeah, on the other hand, and you guys are saying it's a supporting information. Exactly. We have this one. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for being here today. So this is pretty evident. So I'm just gonna reveal. It's definitely an introduction. Also, this one is pretty self-evident. In conclusion, I hope we can build on the solid foundation. It's definitely a conclusion. Sean, do you want to read this one?
With that being said, we have gained a lot of traction recently. This maybe isn't so obvious, but it's definitely one I say all the time.
Mm-hmm. Supporting information. Exactly. And we have the aim of this conference is to discuss a product that's now a staple in education. Introduction, Clara. You are absolutely right. So here we go. So these are some really nice phrases that you can just incorporate into a presentation, and it really adds a lot more fluency to it, and it helps you organize the thoughts better. So let's try to plug them in to some other examples. So what, here I think we can, yeah, we have two of them. So we have two blanks. So let's just use these different expressions, these different phrases we just saw. Yeah, let's use the one that fits best in each of them. So the first one, we have blank. It's an honor to be here today in front of such a wonderful audience. The second one, Sean?
We have lost a lot of progress in the last quarter. I think we can still continue this rapid pace.
Good. So Marco already gave us the first one. So first and foremost, very good. Yeah, so Clara, you're saying on the other hand. Now, I think it's not wrong to say on the other hand in this case. I really feel like on the other hand goes best when we're using on one hand. So it's kind of like part of both, right? So on one hand, blah, 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 blah. On the other hand, so it works. It's not wrong to say on the other hand, but I think with that being said, works a bit better here. But they do communicate pretty much the same. You're kind of, something that would go against the previous statement. Okay. Let's do a couple more. So we've built a solid foundation for a great success in the future. Blank. There is still lots of room for improvement.
Blank, I advise that you never give up on your dreams, but simply make them a reality.
So Mark was saying on the other hand, let's see, I think you're right. But again, see, with that being said, also works perfectly here. I don't know why. I get the sense that on the other hand, at least personally, I would use more if I'm also using on one hand or something like that.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess, I mean, it does imply contrast just in and of itself as
Yeah.
well.
And then in conclusion, or to summarize, they both work really, I think.
Yeah.
Here, let's see. The official answer is in conclusion, but to summarize is perfect as well.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, guys. So we don't have a lot of time, but let's maybe try to very quickly. We're going to use a very short example here, of course, but try to maybe write down a little bit, not a full speech, of course, but just something quite short, so that you can try to just use these expressions, but also, if you can, to use the words that we saw before. Things like to gain traction. Here, let's go back just a second. I'll come back to this slide as well. So we saw, see some of these right here. And then we have the other examples that you guys already wrote in the comments. And so using this vocab, what you have in the comments, try to write the beginning of a speech, okay? It could be, for example, a proposal, okay? Something that you want to communicate to your company, to your city, to whoever really, about a proposal about how things should work after this quarantine is over. Okay, it can be something, you can write to my yes. You're kind of giving a presentation to one of the teachers about how you would like, your English course to go from now on, that you've had this slightly different experience doing it online. So just anything really, or a completely different context. Just try to use them a little bit, so that way we can give you tips if maybe you're not using it, quite perfectly. So
Yeah, I think the issue with these, like we said, is that I see students getting that it's contrast or in summary, but they don't use the one that's really perfect for the contrast for the situation. I think that can make the difference sometimes. Like, with that being said, versus on the other hand, like we were discussing.
exactly. And then while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna send you the link of that TED Talk that I mentioned earlier, just in case you guys want to check it out at some point. It's pretty cool. I don't remember what it's called. It's TEDx How to Ace Your Talk or something.
Mm.
Oh yeah, How to Sound Smart in Your TEDx Talk.
All right.
Let me get the link here.
I remember there's a focus about making speeches with one about tying your shoes, which is quite effective.
Oh yeah. Yeah, which one is that? I haven't done it in a while.
I think it's all about making speeches. I can't really remember what. I think it's level 8 to 10, maybe.
Okay. Wait, why is it? It's making it start on second 52. I just want it to be general. Okay. Okay, here's the link. All right, here you go, guys. This is the link to that TED Talk I mentioned. Okay, so let's see. Marco has one here. So the aim of this story is to present a hero. First and foremost, he was not the classical hero. He wasn't the staple of his country. Being said this, he was a classical villain who took over the country. I like the tone a lot, Marco. It reads naturally. There are just some small corrections I would make here. So remember, they're not being said this, but with that being said. Right here. With that being said, nice job. He wasn't the staple of his country. I don't think that would work, right, Sean? Like the staple of his country.
Staple isn't necessarily positive. Isn't necessarily yeah, because I think it's kind of contrasting to the villain. And I don't think we really use it for people, do we?
Yeah, it's something. It's something that is common, something that is has yeah, like a lot of presence. There's a strong presence in a context. So see, because in that case, he wasn't the staple of his country. What do you mean by that? What do you want to say here, as in he wasn't the staple of his country? So that way we can maybe suggest a slightly different one. But very nice beginning there. Yeah, Sean, do you want to read Clara's presentation?
So, first and foremost, I suggest going back to school once the social distancing is the kind of catchphrase we're using in English, which is it's the convention that we're using, is not necessary anymore. Moreover, really good normal classes could be integrated with online ones, considering that online education is becoming a staple nowadays. Really, really
Exactly.
good. Yeah, moreover, that's a great one that we didn't see.
Yeah, very nicely done. Uh,
Mhm.
so, all right, guys, we're pretty much at the end here. We just like extended it slightly because we had to start a couple minutes after. And Marco, you said like a reference point. So he was not, let me just go back to the original. He wasn't the staple of his country. Like he was not your typical. Like he wasn't your typical,
Mhm.
and then maybe you can just use the adjective. So see, like he wasn't your typical Milanese person or something like that. I think could work better.
Mhm.
And someone you can always trust. Ah, he was like a role model. He wasn't your typical role model,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay, so good work, guys. Um, Yeah, one way if you want to practice this is remember we have the writing club. So just get in touch with your school if this is something you might be interested in, because the writing club, the school would usually give you a prompt that you can write, and then it goes to teachers who would grade it for you. If you have a prompt yourself that you would like to do, I'm sure that's fine. And so if you have a presentation, it can be like a sales pitch, it can be these proposals we talked about. So feel free to develop a more complex speech sort of script, send it to us, and then we can give you some more specific feedback on that as well. Okay, but nicely done today. Really good job here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks
guys,
for
we're out
watching,
of
I guess.
time, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys around then. If not before, have a lovely weekend as well.
Yeah. Bye bye, everyone.
Great, fantastic. Bye.